It's been 3 days. 3 days, and the silence in this apartment is so loud it feels like a physical thing, pressing in on me from all sides. The only things I can hear are the low, droning hum of the refrigerator and my own heartbeat, thumping a frantic, unsteady rhythm in my ears. I keep thinking I hear his keys in the door, but it's just the neighbor. It's always just the neighbor. I made the mistake of opening our closet this morning. I don't know why, some kind of self-torture, I guess. His side is just empty. A row of hollow black hangers. All his shoes are gone from the rack by the door. His stupid, oversized coffee mug isn't in the dish drainer. In the bathroom, his toothbrush is gone from the holder, leaving mine standing there alone. It's such a small, insignificant detail, but I can't stop staring at it. It feels like an accusation. My phone is a dead weight in my hand. I unlock it every 5 minutes, pulling up our message thread. The last thing I sent was, "Please, let's just talk." It's sitting there, under his name, with that soul-crushing read receipt next to it. No reply, no 3 dots indicating he's typing. Just nothing. The weirdest part is, I don't feel sad in the way you see in movies. I just feel this cold, buzzing panic. I feel like someone who woke up on death row without any memory of the trial. I know I did something terrible. I just can't seem to connect the dots between my action and this absolute, suffocating emptiness. How did we get here? It wasn't always this quiet. In fact, for the past 2 years, the defining feature of my life with Jordan was a sense of profound, unshakable calm. He's a software developer, a man who thinks in logic and lives in routines that I once found beautiful. The smell of his coffee brewing at 7 a.m. sharp, a ritual as reliable as the sunrise. The soft, rhythmic click of his keyboard from the home office in the afternoon. The way he'd always leave the porch light on for me if I was coming home late, a small, golden beacon in the dark. These weren't just habits, they were the pillars of my world. He was the safest place I've ever known. And the crazy thing is, the safety made my skin crawl. Not him, I loved him. I loved him with a terrifying intensity, a love so pure it felt like it could burn me alive. But the calm, it felt like a foreign country where I didn't speak the language. My last relationship, the one that broke me before I met Jordan, was a 5-year emotional hurricane with a man named Ryan. It was a constant, exhausting cycle of screaming matches over nothing, dramatic breakups in public places, and passionate, tear-soaked reconciliations that felt like a drug. I thought that chaos was passion. I thought his screaming jealousy when I talked to another man was proof of love. When it finally ended, with a betrayal so cliché it felt like a scene from a bad soap opera, it didn't just leave a scar. It hollowed me out. It rewired my brain to believe that love had to hurt to be real. So when Jordan came along with his gentle voice and his unwavering patience, my broken internal compass just spun wildly. It didn't feel real. My mind, conditioned for battle, couldn't function in peacetime. So I started testing him. I hate that word, but it's the only one that fits. They were small, stupid acts of emotional terrorism at first. I'd forget to text him back for hours just to see if he'd get angry or worried. He never did. I'd just get a simple, "Hey, hope everything's okay. Thinking of you?" One time, I stayed out an extra 2 hours after a work happy hour, phone deliberately silenced in my purse. I sat at the bar, nursing a drink, my heart hammering against my ribs, waiting for the flood of angry, accusatory texts. "Where are you? Who are you with?" I craved it. I needed that hit of drama to feel secure. Instead, when I checked my phone, there was just one text from an hour earlier. "Have fun tonight. Don't worry about waking me when you get in." When I got home, he was asleep, but my side of the bed was turned down and a glass of water was on the nightstand. I felt a wave of relief, so quickly followed by a nauseating surge of self-loathing. What is wrong with me? Each time he passed one of my pathetic little tests with his quiet maturity, it didn't reassure me. It terrified me. A sick part of me, the part still bleeding from Ryan, wanted him to yell. It wanted him to get jealous, to demand to know where I was, to show some sign of the ugly, possessive chaos I mistook for love. His stability felt like a mask, and I became obsessed with ripping it off. I was poking a sleeping bear, not because I wanted to get mauled, but because I just needed to know, for sure, that the teeth were there. I knew it was toxic. I knew it was manipulative. But the impulse was a physical itch under my skin, a constant whisper in my ear. This is too good to be true. Find the crack before it finds you. The final crack appeared over something so stupidly, painfully domestic, it makes me want to scream. We were planning a weekend trip. I wanted to go to a cozy cabin in the mountains we'd been talking about for months. He thought we should visit his parents since we hadn't seen them in a while. It was a simple scheduling conflict, a logistical disagreement. For a normal couple, this was a blip, a 10-minute conversation that ends in a compromise. For me, it was a seismic event, the first tremor before the earthquake I was always waiting for. I pushed. I didn't just disagree, I made it a referendum on our relationship. You never want to do the things I want to do, I said, my voice rising with a manufactured sense of injury. It's always about your family, your obligations. The words tasted like ash in my mouth because I knew they weren't true. He had spent the last 2 years bending his life around my happiness. He tried to reason with me. Sierra, that's not fair. We can go to the cabin anytime. My dad's birthday is next weekend. But I was past reason. I was in that dark, familiar place where any disagreement felt like a personal attack, a sign that he was pulling away. The argument escalated, going in pointless, exhausting circles until finally, he just held up his hands in surrender. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just disengaged. His face went blank, and he said, with a quiet finality that was worse than any shout, "I'm not doing this. We're just hurting each other. I'm going to the study to cool off." His calm was a weapon. It was a wall of ice I couldn't break through, and it confirmed my deepest, ugliest fear. He didn't care enough to fight. The silence that followed his closed door was deafening. And in that silence, the switch flipped. The bad, broken part of me, the part that had been starved of drama for 2 years, took the controls. The whisper in my head became a scream. See, he's leaving you. You have to do something. Make him feel something. Make him feel anything. It was like watching my own hands commit a crime. I grabbed my phone, my fingers flying through my photo gallery with a horrifying sense of purpose. I knew exactly what I was looking for. A few months ago, my old work team had a reunion lunch. Derek, a guy I'd been friendly with, was there. We'd taken a group photo, and in it, we were standing next to each other, smiling. Innocent. With a few taps, it wasn't innocent anymore. I cropped the photo until it was just me and Derek, our shoulders touching. We looked like a couple. My heart was hammering, a sick, frantic drumbeat against my ribs. Then I opened Instagram. I uploaded the cropped picture to my story, a temporary 24-hour act of sabotage. My thumb hovered over the text box. What would hurt the most? What would be just ambiguous enough for me to deny later? The word appeared on the screen. Reconnecting. The winky face was the final twist of the knife. It was petty and juvenile and so unbelievably cruel. My thumb hovered over the share button. It felt like the button on a detonator. A tiny, sane part of my brain was screaming, "Don't do it, Sierra. This is the point of no return. You will lose him forever if you do this." I pressed it. A jolt of ugly, triumphant adrenaline shot through me. There, now you have to pay attention to me. Now you can't ignore me. It was a high that lasted for about 3 seconds. Then came the crash. A wave of cold dread so profound it made me nauseous. I dropped the phone on the couch as if it were on fire. What had I done? I sat there, frozen, staring at the study door, listening to the silence, and waiting for the world I had just deliberately set on fire to finally burn down. I don't know how long I sat there. 10 minutes? An hour? Time seemed to warp and stretch in the suffocating silence. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant siren, was the sound of my future collapsing. I kept picking up my phone, my thumb hovering over the delete story button, but I couldn't do it. A part of me was paralyzed by fear, but another, uglier part was still waiting. Waiting for the explosion. It never came. The study door opened quietly. Jordan walked out, not with the rage I had braced myself for, but with a bone-deep weariness in his eyes that was 1,000 times worse. He was holding his phone. He didn't say a word, just walked over to the couch and placed it on the coffee table in front of me. My own stupid, smiling face stared back at me, next to Derek's. My pathetic little caption glowed on the screen. He stood there for a moment, looking down at me. Then he asked, in a voice devoid of any emotion, "Why, Sierra?" Just 3 words. No shouting, no accusations. Just a question, flat and heavy like a tombstone. And my system, primed for a fight, completely short-circuited. The tears came instantly, hot and performative. The script I had subconsciously written for this moment came pouring out. Oh my God, Jordan, it was a joke. It was just a stupid joke. My voice was high and choked, a caricature of distress. We were fighting, and I was upset, and I wasn't thinking. It doesn't mean anything. I looked up at him, expecting to see something. Anger, hurt, confusion, anything. But his expression was unnervingly blank, like he was looking at a stranger who was having a breakdown in the street. He didn't react to my tears. He didn't respond to my excuses. He just stood there, watching me, as if he were a scientist observing a specimen. I was so scared you were going to leave me, I sobbed, the words feeling like lies even as I said them. This was the final, desperate gambit: play the victim, make him the comforter. But he didn't move, and when he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but it cut through my fake hysterics like a scalpel. I thought the foundation of what we had was trust, he said, his tone conversational, almost detached. I thought we respected each other. But you don't. You see trust as a game. You see my love as something you need to constantly test. He took a slow breath, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of raw pain in his eyes. You used another man to humiliate me publicly, Sierra. Not because you were angry, but as a strategy. To get a reaction. I can't live like that. I can't be with someone who would do that, who thinks that's okay on any level. He didn't give me a chance to argue, to launch into another round of tearful apologies. He simply said, "I'm tired." Then he turned and walked into our bedroom. I sat there, stunned into silence, listening to the sounds that followed. The quiet slide of a dresser drawer opening, the soft rustle of clothes being folded, the click of a suitcase latch. He wasn't packing for a night on a friend's couch. He was packing for good. My sobs, my frantic apologies, my desperate pleas of it was just a joke, echoed off the walls of the apartment, unheard. They were just noise now, the pathetic, meaningless soundtrack to the end of my life. He was gone in under an hour. When the front door clicked shut behind him, the sound was so final, so absolute, it knocked the air out of my lungs. For a moment, I didn't move. I just sat there, listening to the silence he'd left behind. Then the panic set in, a frantic, clawing thing. This wasn't part of the plan. The plan was for him to get angry, for us to have a huge, dramatic fight, and then for me to soothe him and for us to have passionate make-up sex. The plan was for him to see how much I could hurt him, and therefore how much he must love me. The plan was not for him to just leave. My first instinct was to fix it, to undo it. I called him. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I called again, straight to voicemail. He'd blocked me. I tried WhatsApp. One gray tick. Blocked. I sent a desperate, rambling iMessage, a torrent of apologies and excuses. It stayed blue, but with no delivered confirmation beneath it. Blocked there, too. He had surgically removed me from his digital life with a speed and efficiency that was terrifying. My hands were shaking as I dialed Bate's number. Bate was our mutual friend, the one who'd introduced us. She was my last hope. She picked up on the second ring. "Sierra, what's up? It's late." The story came tumbling out of me. A carefully edited version where I was the confused, heartbroken victim. "We had a fight," I cried, "and I did something so stupid, Bate." I posted this old photo on my story just to get his attention. It was a total joke, and he left me. He packed his bags and left. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. It stretched for so long I thought she'd hung up. When she finally spoke, her voice wasn't warm or sympathetic. It was flat and exhausted. "The photo with Derek?" she asked. My blood ran cold. "How did you?" "Jordan called me," she said, her voice heavy. "He didn't call to complain. He just called to ask if he could crash on my couch for a night or two until he finds a place. He sounded broken, Sierra." She took a deep breath, and I could hear her bracing herself. "He also told me why he left. He told me about the picture. And honestly, I don't blame him. But it was a joke," I insisted, my voice sounding shrill even to my own ears. "I was just trying to get a reaction." "A reaction? Sierra, for God's sake, listen to yourself." Bates' voice was suddenly sharp, stripped of all patience. "You didn't want a reaction. You wanted to hurt him. You put his trust and his dignity on a public stage and set fire to it just to satisfy some sick, insecure part of yourself. That's not a joke. That's emotional cruelty. What you wanted wasn't love, it was control." Her words hit me like a physical blow. I had no defense. She was right. She was saying everything the sane part of my brain had been screaming at me for 2 years. "You need to get help, Sierra," she said, her voice softening slightly, but not with pity, with a kind of clinical finality. "Seriously, but leave him alone. He deserves to heal." The line went dead. I was alone again in the silent apartment. Numbly, I started walking around, picking up things he'd left behind, a stray sock under the couch, a book on the nightstand. I was on autopilot, tidying up the wreckage of my life. That's when I saw it. The top drawer of his desk was slightly ajar. He was so meticulous, he never left drawers open. Inside, tucked beneath some old paperwork, was a small, dark blue, velvet box. I knew what it was before I even opened it. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of white satin, was the antique, sapphire and diamond ring I'd pointed out in a shop window months ago, telling him it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. He had been planning a future, a real, stable, secure future, and I had taken that future and burned it to the ground for a cheap, 3-second thrill. It's been 4 weeks since that night. Or maybe 5. The days bleed into one another, a gray, formless smear of time. I don't really work anymore. I called my boss and told them I had a family emergency, and then I just stopped answering their calls. The apartment is my whole world now. This quiet, sterile box filled with the ghosts of a life I murdered, and my phone is my prison cell. Jordan has, of course, kept me blocked on everything, but he forgot about my old art school Instagram account, the one I haven't used in years. It has a different username, a generic profile picture of a paintbrush. It's my ghost account, my invisibility cloak, and from inside it I watch. I live on his page. I live on his sister's page. I live on the pages of his 5 closest friends. I have notifications turned on for all of them. Every time one of them posts, my heart leaps into my throat with a sick mix of hope and dread. I've become a digital archaeologist, sifting through the smiling, happy artifacts of a world that has moved on without me. 2 weeks ago, his friend Matt posted a picture from a hiking trip. There were 5 guys, all grinning, beers in hand, with a mountain range behind them. And there he was, Jordan. He wasn't smiling as widely as the others, but he was there. He looked thinner. Tired, but he was there. He was existing. He was breathing air that I wasn't. I stared at that photo for an hour, zooming in on his face, trying to decipher his expression. Was he sad? Was he relieved? Was he thinking of me at all? Last week was the real killer. His sister posted a gallery of photos from their dad's 60th birthday party, the very party we'd fought about. It was a backyard barbecue. Fairy lights were strung up in the trees. Everyone was laughing. In one picture, Jordan was sitting on a porch swing, and a woman I didn't recognize was sitting next to him. She was laughing at something he'd said, her head tilted back, her hand resting casually on his arm. It was nothing. It was probably a cousin or an old family friend. But in my head, she was his new life. She was everything I wasn't: stable, kind, safe. I spend my days and nights in this digital hellscape. I refresh and refresh and refresh, feeding my own pain, picking at the wound until it's raw and bleeding. I see them going to concerts I would have loved, eating at restaurants we were supposed to try. I see the world continuing, vibrant and full, completely indifferent to my absence. I am a ghost haunting a feast I was supposed to be at. Each photo, each happy comment, each casual tag is another shovelful of dirt on the grave of the life I could have had. This is my penance. Sitting in the dark, in the suffocating silence, watching the man I love learn how to live without me, one pixelated smile at a time.